Orthodox Jews in New York, and they said to me on the street that they call me Rabbi, which was it's a hell of a thing to hear, you know.
Things are going to start happening to me now.
I think Tyler is amazing.
And I'm a fan of this show. I've watched several episodes.
Thank you, Tyler. Thank you, Tyler. You stink, Tyler.
Never promise Crazy a baby.
Oh, I like that. That's a cool idea.
Are either of you homosexuals?
I go both ways. What do you think?
You mean like flaming or?
No, we're not homosexual, but we are willing to learn.
But I do wonder, for others, in other cases, whether libertarianism today is just an excuse for many on the right to act selfishly.
Look at me. And then some fat asses in Washington started having opinions. The Olympic Committee started having opinions. You bitch, I know you. You started writing your opinions.
And it just makes me wonder, you're dead, bitch. You know, why are you doing this to this poor guy?
I don't care. I'm a libertarian. What I'm getting is,
Did you vote for Joe Jorgensen or Trump?
Who?
Joe Jorgensen. That was the perfect answer. Thank you. That
Get it? Power.
Oh boy, we are in the house. This is Tyler Yonke, LPR, coming to you on a Friday evening, later than normal, and hope everyone's here. We've got some people all go liked. Well, yeah, let's go. I've got some problems with the YouTube chat showing up in here, but Scott is here on the Rumble side, so if you ever have trouble and you want to come in here on the Rumble side, please come in. Let's make sure the Scott is here. There we go. Scott is here. Welcome everybody. This is Tyler Yonke, LPR. I've going later today. Let me just give you a breakdown. Some of you like, I don't give a shit, and I always say this every time. I don't care. I'm going to tell you about my personal life regardless, which is this week has been hectic. I've got a lot of work. I'm watching the Karen Reed trial. I'm working way too many hours. I've got a big trial coming up next Friday, so that's a big deal. It's just a one-day DCSS. Curtis is here as well. Gives us the love. It's just a support trial, but this, the client is, this is such an interesting one. It's just about support. It's just a temporary support order, but we're pushing it to a trial, and anyway, I'm doing a lot of work for it. It's just been a really, 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 really busy week. And with that, I got Tower Gang on Wednesday that I produce. And then, there's other things I was planning on doing. And it's just like, I'm busy. And then Fridays, typically, I try to only work till like maybe noon. I'm on the West Coast, so maybe only work till noon or so. And then come home, chill with my wife, and do this show at 4:15 or so Pacific, 7:30 Eastern, 7:15 Eastern. And today I'm just like, honey, my wife, that's not her name. Her name is Gina. I'm like, what if we just go out and I just push this thing off till later? And then, so we went out to our favorite place, Visconti's. It's an Italian restaurant. Had way too many drinks. Had a pizza, and here I am. A little bit. It's a little troublesome. Okay, that's all I'm gonna say. But I've got a show I'm gonna do for you guys tonight. Now we're gonna also go over. Mailbag, because there's a lot. Look, the last few shows have been kind of a banger, and then also I'm putting out shorts. So with Bob Murphy and Sean, potentially criminal, talking about the Nick Rekieta stuff. There's I'm getting a lot of action out here. So I got a lot of subscribers. I appreciate that. Let's keep the subscribers going. With that and everything, there's a lot of stuff going on. So it's quite a commitment, but I'll try. Live chat warning just told me not to be a wanker. Whoa. I don't think Spud Ruckus, by the way, thank you for coming in here, Spud. I don't think I have any rules for the chat. I know, I watch other shows like Kurt, right, on civil law, and he'll kick people out of the chat, and I'm just like, I'm not really. By the way, let's talk about that real quick. So evidently Nick Rekieta has a thing of like these super chats. It's like this other system, and he plays little clips, and they're, like he clicks on the chat and it's someone's pain, and it's someone like a celebrity, their voice impersonation, he's taking it and he's putting it into there. Kurt is one of them. I think Sean is one of them. And I think Still Told Morning Show, Aaron is one of them. And it has their like voice, likeness, reading the chat. Okay, but I don't give a shit about that. And I know that Kurt did a cease and desist and they did, terms of service. I am very, very specific and I'm very consistent on this, which is IP law is fake and gay, okay? So if Nick wants to do that with me, fine, do it, right? I'm so under the radar. There's like no chance it's happening. But Nick, you have my appreciation and my consent to use my voice to do that. Why? You don't even need it because IP law is stupid, okay? So I get that Kurt is doing that and he has every right to make these pushback and to do this. I just think it's not a thing, right? And I know Kurt is specifically a patent attorney. Fine. I just, once again, I think it's a monopoly. And if you're a right winger and you fall for this, it's laughable. But remember, Nick Rekieta also was pushing back against Alyssa about using his own clips and saying, you don't have my consent for this. And she clipped me talking about that. And I'm just like, look, I don't believe in this. And then people are coming after me and I'm just like, I'm sorry. I completely am honest and I'm completely consistent on this. I don't give a shit. Clip my show, put it out there, do whatever you want to. I don't care because I don't think that's a thing. I don't think that the government should grant me a monopoly to dictate what you can do with my stuff. I put it out there. You pay me. If you want to copy it and say it's you, good luck. This is what you want to say is you. Anyway, so there you have. Spud Ruckus is in there. LOL, she says. Okay, Tyler faded as fuck. There is a pop-up before you chat. Hey, the audience response jokes on to Kurt's voice being removed is hilarious. Yeah, it's funny. And I'm like, the drama and all this, I don't care. I'm just saying I'm not falling for any of this myself because I don't believe in this stuff. So once again, as a true libertarian of some sorts, I'm just not gonna fall for it. Okay, let's see here. So here's Tyler faded as fuck. I don't know what you mean by that. You mean I'm a little hammered? Yeah, I'm a little hammered. Okay, I've had a few drinks. Planning a trip to Bro Grove. Look, I could go over this in many ways. I really tried to get to Bro Grove. I have a trial the following week, like the whole week. So certain courts do different things. Family law trials are a little bit different, which is we're doing 1 or 2 day trials. And then sometimes if you have 3 or 4 or 6 day, which I've had 7, 8 day trials, they get set for a different department. And it's a whole complicated situation. Right now I have and then some counties do certain days, like one county, Sacramento, they're just like Thursday and Fridays. Those are trial days. If you're going to do more than that, you go downtown. It's a different thing. Another county that I work with as well, they do a whole trial week, which is they're not sure which. Maybe you only have 1 day, maybe you only have 2 days set, but they reserve that whole entire week until you do trial assignment, which is the week before. You don't know what day of the week you're actually going to be set, so I have to set the whole week aside. I have a Monday after Bro Grove set for a trial that week. I don't know when it is. Now I have a settlement conference the Friday when Bro Grove is going to be. And so I have to show up for both. I don't know. Maybe I'll settle these things and we won't have to go to trial. Could be. I'm really trying to work on that. But at this point I have conflicts and I can't show up to Bro Grove and I'm kind of disappointed because I really wanted to go. I told them, look, you just pay for my, what's going on here? You just pay for my travel. I'll show up. And if I show up, then they're good. True libertarian. And it's not even a libertarian. The audience response jokes to Kurt's voice being removed is hilarious. Yeah. Once again, that's Kurt's prerogative. I'm just not about that. Like I said, you use my shit. I don't really care. I mean, think about it. It is interesting. Kurt's like pushing back, like, you don't have the right to use my... I mean, I'm not at all a Nick fan. Matter of fact, today I'm watching the Karen Reed trial while I'm working. I just have it going on, and there was a break. And during this break, I'm watching it from Joe Norman's channel. Okay, good logic. I typically am watching Kurt's, and it just I was like, but Kurt was talking about other stuff, and it was kind of a break. So Joe's like, I'm gonna see what Nick's doing, and I'm like, I'm out of here. I am out of here. I'm not watching anything Nick has to do with anything. I'm just not giving him my attention and my time. Now, I will watch Alyssa clips that has some stuff with him, and maybe we have some of that. Sure, I'll do that. I'll give Alyssa some feedback and some time. I'm just not going to go directly to Nick. But I don't really care. This is so stupid to say that you own your picture, your face, I don't know. I'm just not a. And by the way, I'm a little tipsy, so if I don't quite give the description of everything I need to tonight, that's the reason why. But with that in mind, I'm not a fan of that, so I'm not going to fall into that. So if Kurt wants to say that, perfectly fine, do that. I think it's fake and gay, but I also laugh at it because you're hitting Nick where it hurts, and Nick is fake and gay as well. Okay, you know what? Let's go right here to Nick. I'm going to play a few things from Nick tonight. This is one of them. This is him talking about Kurt. And I have a problem with the way that Nick treats Kurt based on maybe Kurt's not the most attractive or whatnot, but let's take a look. I have no idea. I have zero idea what this is about. I just thought I'd click on it. Let's go.
Voice in the AI system, and he apparently didn't like that. So, I'm taking the appropriate time to review some of his work. I didn't used to watch his show ever because he never did the show the way I thought he should. So I didn't think it was any value in entertaining or in
who cares? I don't care. Nick's telling someone else how to do their show. I watch Kurt because I think he has a good analysis of things. Perfectly fine. Some of the personal stuff I'm not so into, but I follow the guy. Someone else here last time. Just wait. Let's go to the YouTube here. Not going to Bro Grove. I'm Milky. Okay. Sheesh, your title. LOL. Okay. Jose. Yes, the world is going to shit, and we're going to discuss it. And I'm a little tipsy. So there. Jose won't show up either. By the way, Jose, I believe it is your birthday. Somehow I got it on record that your birthday is going to be in Bro Grove. And Jose is going to be there. He said, looking forward to it. Really was a perfect storm last time. Okay, just the tipsy. Funnier if you no call show for the first day though. Okay, yeah, okay, whatever. I don't know what you people are like. Let's go.
Entertainment value in it at all. And it wasn't personal. I don't watch most people's shows. But now I decided to go back and review some of his stuff. So I wanted to see what this one is.
By the way, I'm just saying, if you as a creator are putting things out online, you have the right to be mocked by them. So if Nick is going through Kurt's stuff here and he's gonna mock it, I'm okay with that. Okay, but also just remember, whatever context you have of this, Nick let another dude fuck his wife in front of him and did coke with his kids around. So just keep that in context, okay? Always in context. Nick was the cuck chair. He sat in the cuck chair while Aaron banged his wife. Never would happen. The only way that happened is if I'm dead on the floor because someone killed me. Okay, because this guy is raping my wife. It's not a possibility. It's not enticing. It's not manly to have someone, bang your wife in front of you. So no matter what he says about Kurt evidently has not let someone bang his wife in front of him. So whatever Nick says here, remember that. I don't care who you are, if you're a Nick stan or whomever, just remember, Kurt hasn't let anybody bang his wife. Does he have a wife? I don't think so. Still, he never let anybody bang his fake wife in front of him, okay?
Come on.
Well, hello, girl. How you doing? My name is Kurt, and a hot young lawyer.
Wait a minute. Okay, I want to say this straight out the gate. I have no idea. I've not watched this video. That looked like it was edited a little bit. That looked like that was edited. I have, I do not believe that that's how that sentence went. It felt like an unnatural pause happened in there, so I'm not sure. Okay, so like let me see.
I have a nice little wine collection actually here. I've got a wine rack and I drink quite a bit of wine. I'm very good with wine. Not.
Whoa. I want to get to this here. Jose said, LOL, you should probably just hit the end stream button and hit the bed, champ. I mean, I'm not that fucked up. What are you saying? By the way, I produce Tower Gang. Okay, that's a show where Jose's on there. He comes in half-baked, literally, every week. I don't know what you have against me doing a show where I'm perhaps a little tipsy, which I'm still just fine. I'm able to produce the show, right? I'm able to, let's see here. I have some, I have some people are laughing. I don't know what you want. There's people are applauding. Why are you saying this, Jose? I think it's a problem. Anyways, keep going.
Red Zinfandel.
Yeah.
Very good with all the liquors.
I'm good with all the liquors too. Well, I'm not now. I got to get out of this habit. I'm not good with the liquors anymore. The smoochers maybe, but the liquors have to go.
Okay, Jose is really coming after me strong. Okay, he's saying I'm full baked. I don't know. By the way, I drove home tonight. I don't know. Call the police. Let's keep going here.
Actually, here I've got a wine rack and I drink quite a bit of wine. I'm very good with wine. Not white. Red Zinfandel.
Yeah.
Very good with all the liquors.
I'm good with all the liquors too. Well, I'm not now. I got to get out of this habit. I'm not good with the liquors anymore. The smoochers maybe, but the liquors have to go.
Liquor?
So good with wine. Very good with it. Buckle up, guys. Like, let's see what happens.
I'm very familiar with beer, very familiar with wine.
No, not at all. You couldn't possibly be very...
Capricorn.
He's very familiar with beer and wine. Me too. Actually, no, I'm not. I'm not very familiar with beer. I don't like it. I can't figure out if I should be...
Okay, I can't watch this anymore because he's not interested in beer. That's all I drink, and so go fuck yourself. Okay, let's move on to a few other things. Let's go to... I want to play this here. This is... And I think I have a mail... Okay, this is our mailbag. I'm going to do some reader or viewer emails or messages right here.
I think Tyler is amazing.
Thanks, Tyler. Thank you, Tyler. You stink, Tyler.
You've got mail.
Okay, I don't even know what the purpose of that is here, but let's go to some of the stuff. Someone says, the GFO says, Safa, baby. This is on my shorts, you leech. This person called me a leech. I don't know, there's a lot of weirdos out here. This was me mocking Robert Barnes and Viva Fry. Let's just give him a heart. Sean is the best. He doesn't oversell. He's just solid. Okay, we'll give that to him. Barton Bella 3131 says, it was his own sister-in-law. Those two half-wits know exactly what happened, and Viva is so tribal that he doesn't care that Nick implicated him in bringing drugs to Trump HQ and being in the bathroom when he did it. Good point. Barton Bella 3131 also said they're right. Nick was so busy being a crackhead, he traumatized his kids. He says they are fine, but it will creep up. I don't know what that last part says, but sure, we'll give him a heart and a thumbs up. Loads of Honey, our constant person in here in the chat, says, it's crazy. It's almost been a year since he got arrested. I swear it was just yesterday. Thumbs up on that. My lawyer told me didn't like what I was saying online. This was to Sean's episode. You mean like when you bragged about doing a mountain of coke and you think drugs are cool, but you're totally an idiot. An addict and don't belong in rehab. Those things, Nick. Thumbs up for that. We'll give that a heart. Roscop Coltrane 8532, very original, said, when I fostered, I couldn't even take a child to get a haircut without parental permission. Okay, but you're fostering. We were talking about a little bit different situation, but I guess at 320, they said they have a point. Cali accent is the worst. You sound like a bunch of Valley girls. Okay. Do I sound like a Valley girl? Everyone in the chat, let me know. Got a case of Fat Tire coming over. Hey, Death. Fat Tire. I love Fat Tire. I used to live in Boulder, Colorado, which was just south of Fort Collins. And Fort Collins is where Fat Tire comes from, the New Belgium brewery. And I would love to have some. Bring it on over. Thank you very much. I like Bob Murphy. Glad you had him on. Yeah, Bob was a great guest. Really appreciate Bob coming on. Safa Cricada. Okay, we'll put that. Praxi X1264 said, this is the episode with Sean. Sean Fair, he tried to help Nick, but Nick knows all. Listen to Viva and Barnes on Today. And Barnes approximately 5 times directed people to listen to Nick's coverage of Karen Reed trial, touting it as the best and greatest coverage. It was interesting. Yeah. Sorry. I'm not going ever again to Nick for any trial coverage. You don't need to. Okay, it's part of the entertainment. Mostly when you're watching any of this trial coverage, it's simply the trial coverage itself. Sean gives fine stuff. And Sean been doing a recap, Potentially Criminal. That's who I had on. I'd say just go and listen to him. You have a bunch of other people are doing it. You don't need to have Nick. You don't need to have the crack addict Nick here to give you any insights. It's just not it. Sean says Takadara. Okay. Well, why did I thumb down that? I meant to thumb up it. Let's go. There we go. That was a setup. Eric July was in Nick's chat. Send me a link 5 times. Yeah, it could be. That's when Nick went on with Nick. I'm sorry. Eric July went on with Nick. I found that to be one of Nick's actually best moments. That was right during the start of his downfall. He had Eric July on, and I thought he broke him down quite well. Now, the problem I had with that was soon thereafter, he had Dick Masterson on and just cucked himself. It's like he couldn't help himself but be this cuck that just lets people fuck him over. And Dick Masterson is a prime example. A complete loser. I'm sorry. I know I'm way too low on the totem pole for Dick Masterson to come after me. But it's true. He had my buddy Top Lops on there. One of the worst interviews ever because Top Lops is funny. And when you have funny people on there and people with humor and intellect, he can't handle it. And so he stifled that one. Don't check it out because it's not worth it. Barnes is a Kramer. Quote, that's because I said Barnes is basically like Jim Cramer. And his predictions are always wrong. Didn't Barnes accurately predict Nick's outcome? Did you? Was Sean Market make an end to Nick's prohibition? I doubt it. Dumpster Bros, Dad. I'm like, I'm sorry. I'm confused with this because we actually did. Sean, Sean, look at that. Sean's in the chat here. Sean, $2 for Sean here. Sean actually did. All these guys did predict it exactly as we indicated, which was it was going to be a deferred sentence. Nick wasn't going to get all this time. He was going to be humiliated. I'm sorry, but Robert Barnes was completely wrong. He's a joke. Which time? Easy to point, to rewrite, to change the goalposts repeatedly. Yeah. So yelling into the wind. Thank you for that thing. I love Bob. That intro is boomer Christian radio vibes. He's much cooler and interesting than what yes, exactly. But I did want to play that intro. If you check out the interview with Bob, I loved it. Bob and Sean, 2 back-to-back podcasts that I had and guests here. Absolutely phenomenal people, wonderful offline as well. Always treating me with respect, which they don't have to. I mean, look at this. I'm a guy here that doesn't deserve your respect. Okay, this is one that Jose told me 15 minutes ago. End the stream. Hit end stream, Tyler. You're too tanked for tonight. But you know what? Fuck you, Jose. Fuck you, Jose. Jose was one of my early guests on the show. I consider Jose one of my personal friends, okay? But telling me to end the stream is probably wise advice, but not one we're going to take tonight. Okay, let's keep going back here to this. Blueberry got something to say. I don't know what that means. Oh, he's talking about Sean. Sean's not a Blueberry. How dare you? I agree that Nick should have given the code to open the door to the police rather than traumatize his children. We'll give that a thumbs up and a heart as well. Barnes is a fool. Absolutely. BGH8904 says, poor Nick. Prob's sweating alone in the dark like Pookie in New Jack City and just putting on a brave face. I don't know. My wife, I think, just slammed the door. Barnes lost my respect when he made blanket PDF file accusations against his critics. That rant was a terrible take. When he first defended Nick, he made some great, decent arguments, and I was willing to hear him out until that point. Exactly. So, Platty 8937, very great point, which is, this is what we do as attorneys, right? It's kind of the law school thing, which is you see a fact pattern and immediately you draft all the causes of action, the motions that you're going to do, the defenses that you're going to do in a criminal case to defend this case, right? That's exactly what Robert Barnes did. But the problem Robert Barnes had, which I think didn't make him at all acceptable in normal and polite society, is he started calling people that were critiquing this. Now, they weren't saying that you couldn't file motions against, 8th Amendment, 6th Amendment, 5th Amendment, 4th Amendment, First Amendment, whatever, Second Amendment. You couldn't, not that you couldn't do those, that they weren't likely to become profitable. They weren't going to you weren't going to make any ground against these things, right? It was nice, but because the problem is Robert Barnes brings up, I'm super shocked. Matter of fact, the only thing I don't think he said was that Nick wasn't quartering soldiers in his house, a Third Amendment violation. And that was the only one he didn't say, but he made it sound like he was so certain that these were going to win the day. Now, Robert Barnes later, he's like, look, and talk about, someone's mentioned here, moving the goalposts, exactly what it is, which is Robert Barnes then goes and says, look, the fact that he filed all these motions put so much pressure on the DA that they had to give him a deal of 5 years probation. 5-year probation is like a ridiculous amount of time. And do I think Nick is going to make it? No, I don't. There's probably at this point, 70% chance that he does, 30% chance that he doesn't. I think it's just very plausible that you don't make it 5 years without any touch of alcohol or interactions with the cops, that you don't get fucked up. Right. But the problem is Robert Barnes is making it sound like all these little interactions, all these motions, these, the Fourth Amendment violations, the Frank's hearing that you're going to have, they're going to win the day. They're not. They were never going to win the day. Nick had cocaine on his face, Robert. He had coke on his face. His kids were in the house at the time. He had guns in the house with the coke, with the wife, with the girlfriend. It was always going to happen. Okay. So yeah, file those motions, go down the rabbit hole of being an attorney and filing every kind of process you can and every kind of motion you can. I'm all for it. But the reality was with the Knicks. Was with the Seans, was with the Nates, was with the Kurtz, was with the Andrews, was with me. Talking about like, what can you do to get this shit over and get your life back? Because we live in reality. We don't just do everything on the whim of what is the Constitution going to be if you're in some sort of theory land. Now, everyone wants to push back against libertarians saying, oh, you're living in Ancapistan. You're just living in this world of make-believe and this is what you want. Yeah, this is what I want. And I understand. That's why I understand the Robert Barnes of the world, which is what would we like things to be? What would we like to push back and have, before the 14th Amendment was installed, before, all the slaughterhouse cases and everything that's fucked us up in the world of the Constitution and the Supreme Court? Sure, I get it. I understand what the founders wanted. But where are we at right now? What we're at right now is police are going to come in. Police are going to have a warrant. The warrant's going to be valid. You're going to get fucked. You're going to have to make a deal. And if you don't make a deal, you're going to go to jail. And how long are you going to go to jail? You're going to get your kids taken away. Okay? So that's what we had here. That's what we had. And that's why Robert Barnes is a joke. Let's keep going. Nick Logic. If you say pi is 3.14, you're lying because pi has more than 2 digits. Therefore, anything else would be no. Right, I agree with that one. I only know 3.1415. Sorry, 3.14159. Anything else precise, you asked the wrong person. Oh, we'll give that person. It's a travesty this channel isn't bigger. You know what? KC4516. Exactly. You guys hit the like button, hit the subscribe. I'm ranting on a drunk, torrid evening. Barnes is so thin-skinned, in my opinion. He's even a few dozen brigade insults away from becoming a Patrick Tomlinson loco. Yeah, I understood a few of those words. Nick constantly said it's just a rough summer for his kids. Anyone except the judge. Look, Robert Barnes is a piece of shit. Okay. He can't be consistent. Sean and I played his, and by the way, thanks for the $2 here, Sean. Let's see, do we even have that on the restream here? Yeah, there you go. There's Sean with the full studio there. $2 from Sean, exactly. The problem we have with Barnes is he makes declarative statements. He makes statements out without any facts, and then he holds to them, and then he changes his mind later on, and he acts like he's always right. It blows me away. Now, look, he gets a lot of time. I love Fired Up Tyler. Thank you, Charles, for the $10. Love you guys out there. Look, I wish I would LOL love this. That's what Jose's saying. Jose, I don't know why you're trying to gaslight me here. I'm not drunk. A little bit drunk. Let's do a little music interlude. Yeah, fuck you, Jose. That's what Scott is saying here. Rolling with the homies. Sandstorm. Look, people. I don't know why Jose is trying to gaslight me here. By the way, go check out Jose's show, No Way Jose. You know what? I got to do this. I was just recently, I'm going to go through some of my bookmarks here, because I was just recently on a show that I think you guys should check out. If you want to hear more about Tyler Yonke, that's me. It's pronounced Yonke. Why am I not finding this shit? I was on Patrick Kelly's show, and I think you should go check it out. Where did it go? Why am I not finding it? Bookmark, LPR. I have bookmarks just for this show. Man, there's a lot of wackos out here that I bookmark. A lot of wackos. Anyway, I was on Patrick Kelly's show recently this week. We talked about a lot of good stuff. He interviewed me, talked about stuff relating to the Dave Smith, Patrick Douglas. Yeah, I'm a little tipsy. Douglas Murray interview. I went down that. I did a lot of good personal stuff, and I think I'm going to say this. I'm getting better at interviews. Right. So it cracks me up sometimes when I'm like, there's a lot of good things to say. And by the way, I will just, Patrick, if you guys don't know Patrick Kelly, he just does an audio podcast. He's had every one of the Tower Gang on there. He really does, and I should have him on our show. He really does a good interview. He does a great job of asking some, great questions. And by the way, as a guest, I always feel that I think it's a good thing for me to ask him some questions back, which I did, because it's interesting to kind of get some interaction. So he asked me, we talked about a bunch of stuff, but one thing he mentioned was Candace Owens. And he mentioned Candace Owens. Do you think that she goes a little bit too far? And I'm like, yeah, at times I think she does. But I think it's more on the flat earth or maybe the moon landing. I'm not necessarily buying that whole spiel. I know a lot of people are real solid on that. I feel that I'm okay making a judgment. I have an engineering degree, a mechanical engineering degree. I don't think I'm a complete retard on these things. Okay, so I think I can break some of this down. And I don't think that I need to have, we've talked about, you look back with Bob Murphy, we talked about, specialists or experts, right? There are some things you do learn in engineering, which is sometimes you learn a little thing about gravity and you learn a little thing about all kinds of other things. So I think I'm just not buying it yet with the flat earth. Anyway, his point was kind of like, do you buy this? And then he mentioned, he's like, she talks about this Jewish guy that's a pedophilia. And I'm like, wait a second. I said, are you talking about Leo Frank? And he's like, yeah, I think that's the person it is. Now, what's interesting is I've done a complete series on this. I went on Jose's show. I've talked about it. I did a series with Pete Quinones on this, and I've got another one coming up. It's just going to be a conspiracy aspect a little bit later on. I've done a ton of work on this one. We're going to be breaking this down. So I was able to basically talk to him and push back a little bit and saying, look, I understand. So this is the problem. So when I was really just starting out and doing podcast reviews, okay, I would break a podcast down and I would say I had different categories. And one of the categories was, is this an acceptable form of podcast for normies? In other words, your sister, your brother-in-law, who are just kind of your mainstream, maybe you're lefty or righty, but they're not going to, like conspiracy shit's a little bit too much. Are they going to, is this a show that you could just like say, hey, check this out? And they're going to be like, I don't think this is okay for me. Now, Tom Woods, as an example, I think is a great introduction podcast. Tom Woods goes deep, but yet he is very presentable and he's very high level, right? So he's a great show as an example to introduce to someone who's just kind of a normie, but then maybe the rabbit hole from there, because he has on guests that are a little bit more outside the 3x5 card of acceptable conversation. And is a Leo Frank conversation or a Candace Owens at this point outside that? It depends. My sister's big into Candace Owens, and she will, often send me stuff like, hey, your buddy Dave Smith is on here. And I'm like, yeah, he is, motherfucker. Check that out. And so, there's good things there. Now, is it just someone I'm going to send my parents? Maybe, maybe not. It depends on where she's at. So maybe you introduce someone to Candace on a different perspective or a different topic, or maybe you don't at all. Okay, let's get back to some of this chat here. Love fired up. Tyler, potentially criminal. Sean, you don't understand. Sean says, sweet bovine. You're tipsy. You have some whiskey. You earned it. I don't drink whiskey. I do not drink whiskey, sweet bovine. I drink IPAs. So look, we went to this Italian restaurant. I may or may not have had 3. I had 2 and I'm like, that's fine. And then our buddy he owns a restaurant. He's like, he was giving me more. I'm obliged to drink them. There you go. $2 Sandstorm. Yeah. Jordan says you should take some dabs, big dog. I call Barnes fat on here. Hannah Foreseen says, I just got my second ad this live stream. When did that become a thing? Thank you for, and I'll get back to you, Hannah, on this one. Remember Flat Earth Dave on Tower Gang? Yes. And Leo Frank did it. Leo Frank absolutely did it. I am sorry. I need to, when I start these programs, and I was a little bit off on this one tonight, because once again, I'm not responsible for driving a car, but I could do a podcast. I need to turn off the ad live on the live streams. I promise I will get that done next time. This was just kind of a put together type of thing, so I didn't get that done. Flat Earth Dave on Tower Gang was an exceptional podcast. Spud Ruckus, I appreciate you coming into the chat here. She's a good friend of ours. We love her. Follow her on Twitter. That's what you should do. You should find Spud Ruckus on Twitter. Always a good follow. But yeah, Flat Earth Dave went on Tower Gang and he brought his entire group in, and they weren't even having a discussion. It was just a conversation. And it was fantastic. His chat follows him around, and they are somewhat toxic, and they are believers. Okay, so it was quite an exciting night. Leo Frank did it. Yes, he absolutely did. Okay, let's get back to some of this chat. Robert Barnes is a clown. Can't take anything seriously. He lost credibility when he did going to the streams of Ricada. Yes. He acts like all this crap just randomly fell out of the sky, screwed him over, totally unconnected to anything might have done. Yes, that's talking about Nick Ricada. Ricada is a quintessential law libertarian. If you should study 1,000 Lolberts, 950 would agree with his choices. Look at that, 13 thumbs up. I'll give it a thumbs up and a heart, but I don't know that I necessarily agree with that. Yes, he's a Lolbertarian. I don't think he's an actual libertarian, okay? I don't know how many times it needs to come to the result for people to see libertarianism is just something folks use as an excuse to be self-destructive and selfish. I'm gonna dunk on that. Let's just write in here. Libertarian, I can't spell, to me, is a legal construct. Oh my God, I can't. I can't. I'm having a lot of trouble typing here, and you people are just going to say, yeah. When Nick claimed everyone got his sentencing wrong, he was very disingenuous. I think it was Eric Hunley, non-lawyer, looked at the deal for the first time and said, whoa, 30 days? When the other lawyers, Nate and Kurt mainly, went, whoa, 30 days, then they read the actual verbiage, and it's only 30 days if he screws up, and reiterated that they didn't think he'd get jail time. Oops, sorry. It was the first time anyone was looking at the sentencing, and Nick is claiming that the initial reaction that resulted into Nate and Kurt analyzing the doc as canon without context so he could smear them. Look, I think it was very early on. People were talking about the actual, check Rumble rants. I've got a note here. Okay, let's just check Rumble rants. I think, look, people were talking about the initial, if I got Rumble rants, a lot of Rumble chat. Oh, this is not my chat. I'm looking at Tim Pool's chat. Let's take a look at the Rumble. Okay, there we go. No, that's not it either. Okay, let's go to Rumble and see what we got here. When people were talking about the early on, I don't believe that there was any really issues with the fact. Okay, there we go. Scott says, fuck you, Jose, for $5 as a Rumble rant. I appreciate that a lot, Scott. Really, really appreciate that. Rakaida's wife is a 410 at best. Felt weird having the dude just watching. Patrick says, I feel like I'm watching Clueless when I listen to you. You're talking to me? Rolling with the homies. Fuck you, Jose. That's for $10. Appreciate that. Check Rumble rants. Yeah, appreciate that as well. What was I saying about Nick? Look, the initial people, I listened to Joe Neerman, Nate, Sean, Andrew, and Kurt. Okay, those are the ones I was really listening to early on, talking about sentencing. And every single one, I talked about this with Sean last week. Every single one of them really fully emphasized what actually happened, which was a deferred sentence. And here we are. Okay. But he's a piece of shit, Nick, that is. And shit went against him a little bit. Okay. Let's finish up all this stuff here. Let's see what else these people had. Yes, they never read the documents and laid back law stream. I don't know where Eric Hunley's information came from. Maybe the laid back law chat. From there, Nate and Kurt reacted from Eric saying 30 days jail. I wouldn't say Nate and Kurt got it wrong. They were just reacting to what they were told. And it sounds like Eric early reported without solid evidence. Look, people. I get it. People now, because this is what we talked about with Barnes, which is like, look, Kurt said he's getting 30 days in jail. It's like, one, they were getting read that. And also, he is getting 30 days if, it says 30 days, deferred if he doesn't obey. So it's still out there. He could get 30. So if he ends up serving 30 days, are you going to backtrack and say Nate was right? No. Robert Barnes is a piece of shit. Okay, a lot of people saying that. Mr. Metacor is an internet legend, even if you don't know who he is. Someone you follow probably does. June the King has a documentary. Okay. I don't know who that person is. Probation's tough? Question mark, says Mick Turner 8193. That's what you get when your youngest tests positive for cocaine. Yes, it's true. Jane and John Doe-W7N says, some did it because they were utterly incompetent. Barnes, you were singing from the high heavens that the warrant would get dismissed. Everyone with half a brain said Nick's motions were dumb. Yeah, look, I have no problem with Nick filing these motions or anybody filing these motions. The problem with Robert Barnes, and I should go back. I should go back and play the stupid shit that I did at the time, ripping him and Viva Fry for what they were saying that wasn't just not plausible. They were saying that the police officer lied. The judge was it's just the same old shit. And if you believe this is, look, we should probably play a clip here. Let's see if I actually have this clip. Let's see here. No, not Rumble. I'm going to play a clip of Matt Walsh on with Tucker Carlson, okay? Because they talk about family law, and I think they get it wrong here. And, okay, let's see if I could find, because he puts these little bookmarks in here. So... is it Douglas Murray who won the debate? Walsh dating advice. I think that is manosphere gay. There you go. Let's walk into this one. Is the manosphere gay, Mr. Walsh? Take it away. Let's go.
That's my main message to young men is that there's this kind of, what do they call it? MGTOW, men go their own way movement online among like some right-wing men. In the manosphere.
What does that mean, men go their own way?
I guess it basically means the whole system is rigged against men, and the family courts are rigged.
Yeah,
everything's rigged.
It's all true.
Which is true.
Yeah.
I disagree. I fully disagree. Now, it depends perhaps where you're at in life, and what I mean by that is like where you actually live. But it's not the case here in California. I routinely defend men in situations. I've told you about this. I had a trial in February that was defending a father against the claim of marital rape. This was on a domestic violence restraining order, which the standard is not beyond a reasonable doubt. It's a preponderance of the evidence, which is just above 50%. Is this true? We won. Okay, this was a 2-day trial. I've told you about this, where the opposing counsel comes in there, and I'm trying to renegotiate before trial that day, and he's like, okay, so we're going to win, and when we win, and he's laying it out for me, and I just said, hey, whoa. It sounds like to me you're going to trial for your own ego rather than your own client, which is, dangerous prospect to do. And he's like, ego, I make 8 figures. I've got a private, and he's just going on. And he had a Tesla, Cybertruck and all this stuff. And he lost. The last day of trial, he had his entire staff in there. The whole courtroom was filled with his people, which was like 13 or 14 people, to watch him lose. Okay. So you're like Tyler, you're deviating off. What about men's rights? Oh yeah. I just wanted to mock this guy for a bit. Okay. So he loses. But my point is, my client, the man, won. And this happens quite often. I've talked about this multiple times for family law, which is if you're in this space and you hear stuff like this, what did you just hear from these guys? Oh, yeah. It's stacked against men. Okay, so you're going into a court case and you're a man and things are stacked against you. What's your mentality? I've got an excuse. I'm not going to try. I'm not going to do the right things. I'm going to just not fight for my kids. Okay, is that what you're going to do? Now, there's definitely states where the shit is stacked against you. I'll tell you which states those are. The Republican states. This blows me away, but it's so true. I get a liberal state like California, which is just, it's insane what they determine as what they call best interest of the child when it comes to if your child wants to trans themselves. But if you're just a regular dude dad, you're going to get a good chance in court. It's just the way it is. It blows me away that this is the way it is. And you know what the solution is? It's for these Republican states to get their shit together and maybe have in their own state constitutions the ability to have at a presumption of 50-50 custody just by the fact that this bitch wants to leave you. Okay? They don't have that in like multitude of states that are Republican states. But you have a shitty state like California that gives a man a chance to actually be with his kids, unless the kid wants to trans themselves. Then you're actually somewhat screwed. So, this comment here is actually bullshit, right? And guys like that, what are they doing? You're not giving yourself a chance to succeed because you're already putting yourself behind the 8 ball. Okay, let's actually go through. I want to go through some bookmarks I have here. Not that one. Due process. Let's check this out. Let's see what Josie has to say about due process, because I'm always interested in what I would consider like non-attorneys and their ability to actually talk about the cases. So this is
Did you know that Barack Obama 75% of deportations didn't have any due process?
Is that because none?
Did you know that Barack Obama 75% of his deportations didn't have any due process?
Okay, that's not true. Now you are you're an illegal alien. You're getting round up and deported. You actually have a little bit of due process. Trump actually changed it a little bit. So it depends on whether it's a felony or a misdemeanor, okay? And I've walked through this before when we talked about the illegal alien that was determined to have gun rights, okay? So there is some, and now, are you due process as an illegal alien to be, deported out? Not really. You're due some sort of process. Now, there's called substantive due process and procedural due process. You're gonna go through this. If it's just a misdemeanor, it's gonna be much less than you are if it's a felony. So I don't know that Josie's necessarily correct about this.
I got to stop you there. That's wrong.
That was from the ACLU.
They are lying.
Well, who cares what the ACLU says? Why don't you look it up yourself?
I guess that's fair. The ACLU does lie.
Indeed.
Yes.
Due process does not mean a criminal trial.
Well, that's what I mean. Dude, they didn't deserve a criminal trial, so they didn't get one. Therefore, due process was followed, even though there was no process. Well, the process was just get out.
See, this is the gaslighting, and I got to stop you. This is the gaslighting. They say they were deported with, like under Obama, none of these guys got due process. That's incorrect. What process are you due? Okay, as an illegal immigrant, you get reviewed by law enforcement. They check your IDs. They can check the IDs and detain any American citizen at any point. If there's reasonable suspicion, which is incredibly easy to get, an officer can stop you and ask you questions. They can ask for your ID. You don't have to give it to them. You can say, am I being detained? And you can go. But if they have reasonable suspicion that you're an illegal immigrant, they can escalate a little bit. Often what happens is they find out the individual is not a citizen or suspicion grows to probable cause. And then they say, okay, expedited removal. That is the process that you are due as an illegal immigrant. So what's happening now is Democrats are trying to create the idea in the minds of Americans that due process means flatly 100% criminal jury trial with a defense counsel. That's for American citizens. Due process is different in many different cases. Okay, so due process can be if a judge denies your evidence. You as an American, if you're a J6er.
Okay, I can't listen to him talk about what due process is because I don't think he actually knows what it is. Okay, let's go to this next one. This is I know you guys are like, Douglas Murray, I have to listen to. Yeah, you're gonna listen to Douglas Murray here a little bit. We're gonna put him at 1.25. This guy is still a tool. By the way, we should probably go to before. I don't know why I'm laughing because I think this is hilarious. But this is Douglas Murray getting. What is this? I guess I have to go to my own feed. Okay, there we go. Okay, let's watch this. This is one of the. When you think of Douglas Murray, I want you to think of this. I know he looks a little bit uncomfortable, but he should. And he also looks as creepy as. Dude, why is this not? I guess we'll look at this one. Okay.
Douglas Murray, couldn't be more grateful to the world Jewish community. You are the friend of friends. God bless you. Thanks. When are you going to take over the UN?
Oh, that's just so disgusting. When you think of Douglas Murray, I want you to think of him with his Rabbi Shmuley. As we played on the intro, is being called a rabbi a slur? I think so.
Orthodox Jews in New York, and they said to me on the street that they call me rabbi, which was it's a hell of a thing to hear.
Okay, and my point of that is like, this is Jordan Peterson reacting to being called a slur. Douglas, our greatest ally. Yes, it is. Yeah. So that's. I'm so not bothered by this shit anymore. I'm just so over it. But anyway, let's go into Douglas Murray talking with Barry Weiss on her stupid Semitic show. And that's not gonna work. We're gonna have to show this one. Okay. Talking about whatever he's.
I don't like the platforming of endless weird kooky voices from semi-self-taught people. So here's the problem as I see it.
But is the problem with being self-taught, or is
No, it's not. I mean, as I stressed repeatedly in the interview, anyone can say anything they want within the confines of the law. Anyone can have a view on anything. I'm for that. I spent much of my career advocating for that. But that it doesn't mean just because some experts have let themselves down or let all of us down, it doesn't mean that you should simply lift the sluices of your society and allow all the sewage to just flow through it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I see happening. And you see, the problem here is Joe is a very skilled podcaster. People don't realize how good he is until you see somebody who can't do what he does. But if he wants somebody to discuss MMA fighting, you will notice that he does not invite comedian Dave Smith, because comedian Dave Smith has never been in a fight or to a fight, or maybe he has, but I don't think he'd know how to talk about the jiu-jitsu. Maybe he would. Maybe it surprised me. But
okay, this is the problem. Getting out over your skis, as they call it, right? You're snow skiing, you're over your skis, you're going to fall, you're getting ahead of yourself. Douglas Murray doesn't know the topic that he's trying to discuss here, and he's trying to use examples. Dave Smith has talked about multiple times of the shit hole he grew up in and the street fights he was part of, okay? Now, that doesn't mean he's doing MMA fighting, but that's not what Douglas Murray just said. Douglas Murray just said, I don't think he's ever been in a fight. Dave has talked about multiple occasions of street fighting, just shit going down, okay? With that in mind, Dave has also had a podcast with Luis J. Gomez called Yo MMA Rap. It's all about MMA. Dave Smith has been on Joe Rogan, I don't know what now, 15 or so times. He's talked about MMA and fighting on multiple occasions, especially the early times. And once again, that doesn't give it I don't give a shit about any of that, right? Can he discuss the topic he was brought on to discuss with you? And did he still fuck you in the ass when he was able to do it with that topic? All this stuff here going on, like, oh, he brought it on sewage. Fine. You know what you do with sewage? You flush it. Why didn't you flush it, Douglas Murray? Why didn't you flush it? Because you decided to be a little bitch about it instead. Okay, let's keep going here.
Joe would not have him on to talk about something that Joe
That's not true.
knows about. So why does he have him on to talk about a conflict that the guy knows so little about?
And if he knows so little about it, why didn't you wax the floor with him? Why was it so important? Like multiple people, like the majority of people, I would say that he cleaned your clock. If he didn't know what he was talking about, why did he fuck you so bad?
Somebody recently upped on X a snippet of an interview that Joe did a while ago with one of these pseudo-historians, where he says, you know, nobody has a right to say that you're a neo-Nazi or Hitler apologist unless they've imbibed your work and listened to all of it. And, you know, it's like talking to somebody who thinks they know about a country who's never been there. And I think, yeah, that was one of the points I was trying to make. I mean, I was pretty alarmed by I don't really follow fires I've started in general, but I was pretty alarmed by
the reaction.
I don't think he started a fire. And if he did, it was one of those things where he put like an M80 in his pocket or up his ass and then lit it. And then it went off. And now he's acting like there's a fire around me. And I'm like, yeah, homo, you were the one that did start it, but you started it because you wanted it's some sort of sexual gratification. I don't know where I'm going with this other than to mock him for this fire analogy.
Be alarmed by the number of people who found it, including Joe and Dave, found it to be some kind of really weird, snooty, elitist thing to say, if you're going to write about a place, you should have been there or know about it.
Okay. I've talked about this multiple times, which is there is some truth about being to a place. Now, I do podcasts about, podcasts, but I also have another podcast about cycling. I used to be a professional cyclist. I didn't do it to the exact, to the Tour de France style, but I did pontificate on this all the time because I could see how, strategy and everything plays into this. And it's just, it's an enjoyment. And people do this all the time. You have people who have never played professional golf or commentators on it. You have people that haven't done professional MMA you do this all the time. It's not absurd to have that. Now, the problem with Douglas Murray is he's talking about a place, Palestine, Gaza, what have you, that he got a guided tour It's the Potemkin village situation that we talked about, right? Which is it's a fake. You're getting the tour guide from the enemy. You're not getting the Max Blumenthal side, which is you go on there on the other side and you hear that their point of view, devoid of the propaganda from the Israelis. You're not interested in that. You're going in there on a guided tour with an IDF badge and all this stuff. It's bullshit. Now, look, in the Gulf War and whatnot, we had embedded people, journalists that were embedded. Now, can you get an objective point of view from that? Possibly, but you're also just a little bit slanted from where you have. Would I prefer that Douglas Murray, his point of view from he's clearly an IDF spokesperson. We just saw that with Rabbi Shmuley. Would I prefer his point of view or maybe a Dave Smith point of view that hasn't gone there and is just, doesn't get the Gaza side. He doesn't get the, what would I prefer? I mean, what do you think?
You should do some of the legwork. I was pretty alarmed about that simply because in old media, I certainly, that was a standout. Like, good God, the old media, legacy media let us all down in ways that you and I could riff about for a fortnight. But there are standards.
Okay, I don't know if there are standards. I don't know if there are standards. And this, I think these people grow. I think they grow these people in test tubes. Does this sound like British Stefan Molyneux? Look, Stefan Molyneux is, I think, a much better person than this. Tyler, have you heard that clip of Eric Weinstein talking about social shaming as punishment for unacceptable opinions? I don't know. Why don't you send that to me in my DMs, Spud, and I'll check it out. What's wrong with pointing out the British got us into both wars and FDR was actively trying because of the New Deal failed? Yeah, okay. Spud Ruckus of censorship too, of course. Okay. Trigger warning says expert. Spud Ruckus. Yeah, fired up Tyler. A few drinks. Look, I don't know why you got LOL. LPR, have you been? Yeah, I have not. Fake tour. Yeah, people, come on. I don't know why you're making a big deal. I said I had some drinks. I may or may not be proud of it. Scott here says, I can't stand an MFer who says Fortnite. Yeah, exactly. Look, I'm not a fan at all of the British, so you're not going to get me with this stupid accent shit. And by the way, I've told you, I've been watching the Karen Reid trials, and this this Boston accent is it just makes me want to kill myself. Car, have you sir, my car? I'm like, oh my God, this is so outlandish. Let's see here. I had a few other, let's just walk through my bookmarks, and because that's really what I wanted to get to. I had some few issues here. Huge power outage cripples Spain and Portugal. Now, I will say this, that there's some people that say that it's all tied to Jews and that they were speaking out against Israel and that they have ties to this and then they cut off their power. Maybe, maybe not. Maybe it's just a sun thing. Bob Murphy, Adam Hammond and I discussed Constantine's article on Dave Smith. How long is this thing? This is 3 minutes.
I was unable to.
We're not going to walk through that. Let's go through this one. This is the most interesting, fascinating, disturbing thing. And people will call me and others anti-Semitic for bringing this up, but this is just baffling to me. I don't even understand. So evidently in Texas, some group, it was in some city, they found out that they were giving millions of dollars every year to Israel. The city, just a city in Texas. So they're like, they found this out and they're like, okay, we're not doing this anymore. Then Greg Abbott, the mayor, he's like, he came at San Marcos City Council. I'm aware that on April 15, 2025, San Marcos City Council considered a resolution calling for a transfer of permanent sovereignty over the occupied Palestinian territories and an embargo on the state of Israel. The resolution claims to be rooted in principle that, quote, all people are entitled to live life in safety and free from violence, unquote, and states that it, quote, unequivocally condemns targeting civilians, quote. But I have not found any past resolution that unequivocally condemns targeting civilians by Hamas or affirms that the Jews murdered on October 7th were entitled to life, live life in safety and free from violence. City council members voted to bring this pro-Hamas resolution. Once again, if you're just kind of like, I don't really in favor of this. I don't want to send money to Israel. Now you're pro-Hamas. This is the most ridiculous. This is a city in Texas. Do what the fuck you want. Okay, so he goes on here, Greg Abbott, the legless piece of shit, and he says anti-Israel policies are anti-Texas policies. Are they? This is so binary. This is one of the worst things. Sent a letter to the city of San Marcos today condemning its proposed. Okay, who cares? Who cares if you condemn it? But let's hear what this piece of shit
have no place in Texas, and certainly.
Let's start this over. I missed the beginning. It's really quick here.
Anti-Semitic platforms like Gab have no place in Texas.
Okay, so Gab, it's like Twitter, but it is less restrictive at all. So he says they have no place in Texas. People, this is speech codes. This is what we're talking about.
And certainly do not represent Texas values.
I think that's totally bullshit. I think Texas values are being able to say what you want. I don't live in Texas, but, shit on me, shit on Texas, whatever. I thought that's what it was.
What does represent Texas values is legislation like this by Representative King and Representative Coburn that fights anti-Semitism in Texas.
Okay, I would be curious to see what that actually legislation is. I bet it is a speech code, okay? Because that's what they're for. People are so unbelievable. I can't believe I'm here. Okay, let's talk about. Let's play this, and then maybe we'll head out. What time is it? 8:15. I think we're about an hour in. I know you guys don't like cycling, but a gentleman from Australia just recently won a race. His name is Michael Matthews. He's quite the stud. And they get it's a beer sponsor for the race, and this is him after the race, doing what he should do, drinking a very large alcoholic beverage, and the guy from Uno X, Magnus Court, just lifts it up. The guy from Movie Star just looks at him, and this motherfucker is drowning this gallon of beer. Solid work, and he's still going. This is an Aussie for you. That's all he can do. That's all he can do. Good job, Michael Matthews. We appreciate your effort in the long scheme of things. Let me see if there's any more bookmarks I need to take a look at for today. Mocking them, nothing them. These douchebags there. Nope. Nope. They're there. Barry Weiss. Let's do this last one with Barry Weiss, and then maybe we'll be heading out of here. Okay, let's see what this homo, she literally has to say.
China has the world's largest army and the world's largest navy. They build more ships in a month, I think this will shock people, than we do in a year. And meantime, we are cutting defense spending. What are we doing to prepare for a possible war with China?
Well, we also essentially approved a budget, which is in the facility, you'll like to hear this, of $1 trillion, $1 trillion, and nobody's seen anything like it. We have to build our military, and we're very cost conscious, but the military is something that we have to build, and we have to be strong because you got a lot of bad forces out there now. So we're going to be approving a budget, and I'm proud to say, actually, the biggest one we've ever done for.
Okay, so the biggest one. I want to play this last bit.
Well, I'm pretty sure the group of people in there spent, 4 years covering for someone who was essentially dead, and that's being charitable in my description of him, a president by the name of Joe Biden. So to all those people who are apoplectic over having new media voices, you guys failed, and that's why we're here.
And Donnie joins me. Now, what else stood out to you?
Okay, she posted this on her thing thinking she was all smart. And this is one of the bitches, though, this Natalie Winters. They got the fake binders sent her. I'm so tired of all these people. The Cernoviches, he just said out there, look, if I was an Anon, Cernovich, Michael Cernovich, or yeah, I think it's his name. If I was an Anon online, my voice is so powerful and big, you would still have doxed me because my voice just can't be stopped. And I'm like, you mean that lispy thing that you're talking about? I'm so This is unbelievable. Okay. JC, always the purveyor of other shows, says, hey, you need to raid Connie's stream. Yeah, go check that out. There it is. Murder the Media. I guess he's on some show. I don't know how to necessarily do a raid. So go raid that show. There's the thing when you're done. Yeah, when you're done. Last thing I'm going to say. So we've had a squirrel. We have a 2-story house. There's a house is built in 02, and there's like some stucco, some different areas, and there's like kind of some inlets in the outside of the house that are just there. And we've had some squirrels living in an area that's like right over here, right outside the marital bedroom. Okay. And they're in this hole, but it's not in the house, but it's like on the outside. And I've tried to get them out. It's like 20 feet up in the air. I can't do anything about it. And they're there. So we called this pest control, and they're like, yeah, tell you what we do. We put a thing on the outside that allows them to come out, but they're not able to come back in. And then we come back and we seal that up. So we're like, fine. So, paid an inspection for that. They came out the other day and they're like, yes, we're going to do that. And we're going to do all these other spots around the house. My wife's like, look, it looks like these are like maybe mouse poops here. And they're like, nope, that's bat. That looks like bat. And then they looked in one of these other little inlets and they're like, there's bats in there. They sealed all these areas up. The bats are entombed inside this area. They didn't let the bats come out. They just sealed them up, entombed them. I think that's apropos. I think, kind of like bats being inside a tomb, in a sense, inside our house, but they're not outside the house. And the squirrels, it's what it is. I think I told you a few weeks ago, my wife rescued a squirrel. There was one found in our garage on a rat glue trap. And she did everything she could to try to save this thing. Ended up getting it to someone who does like some animal rescue. Good for her. Okay, what roids do you recommend to ride like these guys? I will tell you that I don't believe guys are drugging like they used to. Okay, cycling's a little bit different than it used to be. I don't believe that they were like back in my day. I rode in the like 95 through 2000. Okay, like that's when I was really big into it. I had teammates that I'm pretty sure were doing some fancy stuff. I was not, because trust me, I was not, and I was not successful like that. Okay, so that just did not happen. But I think it was definitely happening at the time. It was really a tough environment to do. I continued racing as what's called a master. It's different age groups, and I've been doing that up until the last 2 years. And I just found that things change. You learn how to train differently. And I think I was actually faster in like my 49-year-old, 48-year-old was probably my fastest there when I went to nationals and stuff. I mean, I was at a very, very high level, maybe better than when I was like, my 20s and 30s racing even. So, just from being able to train differently, environment, your health, your eating habits, fueling, everything is different. And I think things just change. You see that with Olympics, people getting better and faster. Testing is different. So I just don't think the guys are doing that anywhere I think there are guys that are doing that actually, and then they do to get caught. So, but I could be completely wrong. Okay. Well, I think we've got everybody in their chat. I appreciate you guys coming in here. I do plan on possibly doing a show this weekend when I sober up. Once I sober up, I may do one because I have a fantastic show to do once again on Leo Frank. Join us, like and subscribe. We'll maybe catch up on some Karen Reed stuff. Like I said, I have a trial this next week on Friday, so I'm not sure what I'll be able to get done. Friday, here's the interesting part. Oakland A's, I'm talking sports here. Oakland Athletics play in Oakland. They are moving out of the state and going to Nevada to Las Vegas, okay? But before they build the stadium there, they're no longer playing in Oakland. They're playing somewhere. Where are they playing? They're playing in Sacramento. And in Sacramento, it's a small stadium. We have a AAA team here called the River Cats. And in the River Cats Stadium, that's where the Oakland A's are playing all season. Now, it's like a 10,000 person stadium. And the New York Yankees are coming to town on my birthday, happens to be on Mother's Day, the 11th of May. So I'm like, hey, let's get my dad in. So I'm flying my dad in, my mom, but my dad and I, and then 2 boys, flying my son in from Washington as well. We're going to the Yankees game against Oakland, first base side. I'm going to watch Aaron Judge in this small stadium. I'm pretty excited about it. It blew me a lot of money, but it's totally worth it, and I'm looking forward to that. That's next weekend. So next weekend, I don't know what I'm going to do. Maybe I'll try to put out a show. Like I said, I have a trial on Friday. I have this thing going on, a baseball game on Sunday. So we'll be in connection with everybody. But I appreciate everybody coming in. Like, subscribe, like everybody said. Forrest Mommy's co-host Paul has been hooked on the Karen Reed trial. Would you like to have him on? I don't know that I'd like to have him on. Why? I know I'm an attorney that's hooked on it as well. Maybe he should have me on. Why don't you go on Forrest Mommy's show? I think she's on right now. Why don't you go on their show, JC? Go on their show and say, hey, would you like to have a real attorney come and talk to you about this case? I think so. See you guys.
Okay, I'm leaving now, guys.
But she's back.
And now.
Tyler, if you had any clout about you, if you had any knowledge of the real world of what happens, we walk into Tim Katz's studio, immediately there's 4 Jewish lawyers.
King of the Druids!
That's all we needed. A Jewish princess.
Yeah, so I mean, I don't expect the normies like Tyler to understand these kind of things. He's just a podunk lawyer somewhere in rural California. He's an idiot, really.
Takes a tough man to make a tender forecast, Nick. I guess that's me. Keep fucking that chicken.
This guy's, I wouldn't say he's full of shit, but I'd say he's stupid. Whatever, if you're in the comments, if you're in the chat now, I wouldn't pay attention to anything he says anyway. But
more or less, eat shit and die.
Don't ever come to Top Lobster. He will end you. Do you see what he just did to Tyler? Just fucking challenge this.
Tyler's done.
Top is a maniac.
He can't even reply right now because he's crippled.
He's got nothing to say.
What are you talking about? I didn't say that. Why don't you argue with something I said, you dumb bastard?